more and trading more time for money, or you increase your skill level to make more money for the time you are trading for money, right? So when decrease your wealth and your financial independence, you have to find a way to remove yourself from the creation of your income. And that's one of the ways we try to teach you in the wealth advantage and the elite levels, is to teach you other ways that you can increase your wealth without it having to be directly related to what you do for a living, for what you're doing for trading your time for money. So the first way to do that is you need leverage. Maximum leverage. Okay, so you have to have a leveraged vehicle in order to do that. So you have to say, okay, listen, we're not saying you have to quit your job to come over here. One of the worst things you could recommend somebody is when they first join is to, hey, okay, quit your job. Or if they say, hey, I'm so pumped, I'm going to go quit my job because I love this so much. Don't do that. I did that. Don't do that, okay? And a lot of this stuff I'm telling is because I did it myself. And I was so pumped from my first company that I saw. The light bulb came in over my head. I just moved into New York, and I said, okay, I'm going for it. And that was my full-time income. That's all I did. Bad decision. A lot of things happen when you do that, and that's a whole nother training. It changes your prospecting mentality and so on, because you really need to make the money. And you don't want to be in a position when you're recruiting people and you're talking to people where you really need the money, because they see it that way, that you really need the money. And as I told you before, that my business changed when it really wasn't about the money anymore. It was about helping the people, and people feel that. Whether you think about it or not, people feel that. So you need a leverage vehicle. That's primarily something that, okay, at the beginning, National Wealth Center is you have to work in the business to be able to generate your income. So at the beginning, you do a lot of work you're not paid for, so later on you get paid for a lot of work you don't do, right? So at the beginning, yes, we are linear income, because you're working, you have to bring people in, you have to start somewhere, and as I say, as an entrepreneur, at the beginning, you got to be able to take the garbage out. You got to open the doors, you got to close the doors, you got to do everything, right? So, and in this business, you got to do everything, right? So at the start, you want to have eventually, so you can have your leverage vehicle where eventually you're taking yourself away from the creation of your income. So leverage vehicle is important. The second thing, you need residuals. Okay? First 8 or so years, 9, 10 years, I was a selling machine. I just made money through brute force, just because I worked harder than everybody else. But what happened is every month it would stop and I had to start all over again. And I had pretty much a little bit of residuals, but not too much. Okay, because I would just work harder, and every month I would have to start over again. So you need the residual income, and it was a simple little course. And you hear things many times, but at some point the light bulb comes on. Have you ever heard something forever and it just didn't click, and all of a sudden, now I get it, right? So that was one thing for me with residual income, and then you hear something and it just clicked. This thing I want to tell you all the time is when it's not about the money, it's just I just want to help people. I heard that for 12 years. It just didn't click. I just thought it was I just have to work harder than everybody else, and that's what I was doing. I was, but at some point that business model doesn't work, or it works up to a certain point. It's just working hard, and you have to, in order to get to the next level, you have to think about things differently, and that was this is one of the things that really helped me quite a bit. And the other thing was focusing not on the money, on the process. So residual income is very important. The third thing is time. What's your time horizon? Everybody's different. You have to make a tremendous amount of money really fast, and that's going to dictate. And you'll hear this when you have people coming into the business, and maybe you're asking them questions. What are you looking to achieve? How much money are you looking to treat? How much money are you looking to bring in? What's your time horizon to do that? Is it a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? Is it 6 months? Is it 2 months? So if someone says, I got to make $5 grand in 30 days, you're not going to start them at the $25 level. And it's your job as a sponsor to be upfront with them to tell them that, right? You said, listen, if you got to make $5 grand in 30 days, you got to really get busy. You got to work really hard, and you really should come in at the higher levels. You got to do the monthlies, but you got to come in at the 250, at least 1,000, to be able to make that. I mean, yeah, you can do it at 250, but you still need a lot of people. If you're doing it at 1,000 or 3,500, 3,500, you don't need that many people. because you're making $3,150 in one person. So their perspective has to change depending on what you ask them. So you have to ask them a question, and your job as a sponsor only starts when you bring them in. And you have to say, okay, what are you looking for? What are you looking to achieve? Let's put a game plan on how you can accomplish that over whatever time horizon you have. So your time horizon is different from somebody else's time horizon. Like Gerard is a little older, me and him are about the same age. Our time horizon is different than somebody that might be 25, right? As far as achieving their goals and dreams. Next one, I mentioned this a little bit, work. How hard are they willing to work? Because you're just not going to be able to have this and this and this if you don't put the work and time and effort into it. So this comes into also when you're talking to your people, when you're getting them started, is how much time can you put into this? If you're only going to put in 5 to 10 hours a week, you're not going to get to that $5,000 a month doing it at the $25 and the $50 level. So this, as far as the recipe, you need a certain proportion of this and a certain proportion of this, and so the proportions of each one of these levels have to change in order to reach the end line goal, which would be here. So everybody's recipe in different proportions of these 5 items is going to change depending on what their goals are, what they want to achieve. And the last one is duplication. So leverage residuals, time, work, and duplication. So this is, it's like chasing butterflies sometimes. Isn't it tough, right? And I know myself, I see things a million times, and I'm doing it so long that it's easy for me, but easier for me is difficult for many people. So I tend to make it complicated, and if you make it simple, keep it simple, make the process as simple as possible, then the duplication will happen much easier. The duplication, this is more of the longer term thing that's going to happen over time. It's not going to have that much of a direct result on quicker money than these up here, but this is something that's it's like the compound effect. Has anybody read the book The Compound Effect? Darren Hardy? Awesome book. It's called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, where over time, it's the small effort that you do over time that you don't notice, but eventually it's like this, right? It's the 5 phone calls you make today, the 5 phone calls you make tomorrow, the follow-ups you do every single day that don't really seem like they're really working, that really don't seem like they're getting to where you want it to get to, compounded over a month, 3 months, 6 months, and it just takes off. So that type of thing, and that's what really duplication is hitting this part here. And it could be posting YouTube videos, it could be doing blog posts, it could be a lot of different things like that that you, in turn, are doing these little bitty things every single day per month, posting on Facebook every single day, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. You're like, yes, this really isn't working.
Sir, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had joined this team, GPS Funnel